There are companies that become symbols of their era. Google stands for the internet, Apple for smartphones, Microsoft for office software. Today, Nvidia has joined that list. Without its chips, ChatGPT, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and hundreds of other AI services wouldn't run. But success brought questions. Does one corporation have too much power? Are we about to repeat the big tech story, where a single player holds the market hostage? And is Nvidia becoming the new oil of the 21st century? Today we'll break down how a company that made graphics cards for gamers became the AI monopolist, and why antitrust cases are already being opened against it. Nvidia's story begins in 1993. Three engineers, Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Prame, decided the future of computing would be tied to graphics. Few believed that at the time, the world was focused on Intel's processors and Microsoft's operating systems. But from day one, Nvidia bet on graphics accelerators, GPUs that could process images and 3D scenes faster than regular CPUs. By the late 1990s, Nvidia had become a key player in gaming. The GeForce Mind cemented the brand among millions of players, but the company's biggest decision came a bit later, in the mid-2000s, when it bet that graphics processors could be used for more than games. CUDA, the weapon of mass dominance. In 2006, Nvidia launched CUDA, its own platform and architecture for parallel computing. It was a real breakthrough. GPUs stopped being gaming cards and turned into general-purpose compute machines. CUDA allowed you to use thousands of parallel cores for tasks where ordinary CPUs fall short. For researchers, this was a lifesaver. Training neural networks, DNA analysis, physics simulations, all of it became possible thanks to Nvidia GPUs. This is where the company's future was born. It was the first to grasp that graphics and artificial intelligence are two sides of the same coin. The neural network boom, when the machine learning boom began in the early 2010s, it turned out Nvidia GPUs were perfect for training neural nets. Google used them for early deep learning experiments. Facebook, Meta, trained recommendation algorithms on GPU clusters. Universities bought graphics cards not for games, but for research. Gradually, Nvidia transformed from a gaming company into the foundation of the entire AI industry. Why competitors fell behind. Intel and AMD tried to enter the market too, but Intel clung to CPUs and AMD didn't manage to build a CUDA equivalent in time. Nvidia achieved the most important thing, an ecosystem. Developers learned CUDA. Libraries and frameworks integrated with it. And the more companies used Nvidia, the harder it became to switch. This is the classic closed system effect, like Windows in the 1990s or the iPhone in the 2010s. Nvidia built not just hardware, but a whole world where every tool works best with its GPUs. The company's leader, Jensen Huang, deserves separate mention. His charisma and management style became part of the brand. In a leather jacket, he steps on stage to unveil new GPUs, turning product launches into a show. He always presents Nvidia as a company building humanity's future, not just shipping hardware. And it works. Investors see Nvidia not as an IT vendor, but as an engine of a new industry. Because without Nvidia chips, ChatGPT doesn't run. Without Nvidia chips, there is no Midjourney or Stable Diffusion. Even military and space projects use its GPUs. In 2024-2025, Nvidia became a multi-trillion-dollar corporation, and its CEO, Jensen Huang, one of Silicon Valley's central figures. We would like to remind you that we have a Patreon account where we post content that cannot be shown on YouTube. Here you will find content that cannot be published openly. 18+ stories from porn actresses and OnlyFans models, access to a private chat, participation in voting and planning new videos. New videos are released 3 days earlier, and much more. Join our community and be the first to know everything. We're living through a real gold rush of artificial intelligence. Companies, governments, and investors are racing to claim a spot in the new digital economy. If oil and gold determine the fate of nations in the 19th and 20th centuries, in the 21st century, that role belongs to compute power. Nvidia has become the main supplier of the resource, without which progress is impossible. To train GPT-4, OpenAI needed tens of thousands of Nvidia GPUs. Midjourney and Stable Diffusion use hundreds of servers with Nvidia cards every day to generate images. Even Tesla builds its autopilot systems relying on Nvidia GPUs. That's why analysts call the company's chips the new oil, or digital coal. They provide the energy that powers the entire AI boom. From 2020 to 2025, Nvidia's market cap grew almost tenfold. And this isn't speculation, it reflects real demand. Banks and hedge funds snap up GPUs for trading algorithms, universities for research, startups to build AI-based apps. The GPU market got so hot that gray resale schemes and black markets emerged where server GPUs sell for multiples of list price. AI chips have become not only a business, but a geopolitical instrument. The US restricts exports of the latest GPUs to China, fearing Beijing will use them for military projects. Europe is trying to build its own capacity to avoid dependence on American companies. The Middle East is investing billions in data centers to join the new digital club. So the AI gold rush isn't just about startups and investors, it's also a state-level battle for technological sovereignty. As with any gold rush, thousands of startups have jumped in. Some raise millions purely on the promise of an AI app of the future. Others vanish after 6 months, leaving investors with nothing. And the winner, as always, is the one selling shovels. And today, those shovels are made by Nvidia. Some analysts already compare this to the dot-com bubble of the 2000s, but even if part of the market pops, the hardware will still be in demand. When a company gets too big, governments inevitably take notice. Google, Apple, Microsoft, each eventually came under regulatory scrutiny. Now it's Nvidia's turn, and that's no accident. In 2025, France's antitrust regulator opened a formal case against Nvidia. Main allegations: abuse of dominant position, you can't build a serious AI service without Nvidia chips, tying to CUDA, the company effectively forces the use of its ecosystem, closing the market to alternatives, and unfair pricing. The cost of server GPUs has multiplied. Startups simply can't afford them. In France, this caused a real stir. Politicians said, we must not allow a single American company to control Europe's technological future. CUDA is, on one hand, a technological marvel that enabled neural net training. On the other, it's a tool of control. Any AI company that chooses Nvidia becomes locked into its ecosystem. Switching to other solutions is practically impossible. The cost and time of migration are huge. The result is digital dependency. The same dynamic the world had with Windows in the 1990s or iOS in the 2010s. Competitors' response. AMD argues its products don't get fair market access. Intel accuses Nvidia of creating a barrier to innovation. Even Anthropic, one of the largest US AI companies, complained that Nvidia dictates terms that hurt the entire industry. It's a rare case. Competitors and even partners start to align against a single player. The US is interested in preserving Nvidia's leadership, but Europe and Asia want to reduce dependence. Chinese companies can't buy top GPUs due to sanctions. Europe sees a risk of digital colonization. At the EU level, laws are being discussed that could force Nvidia to share technology. What the company risks. If antitrust authorities see it through, Nvidia could be compelled to open CUDA to competitors, forced to separate businesses, for example, split hardware from software, or hit with multi-billion-dollar fines. We've seen this before. Microsoft was forced to change Windows in the 2000s. Google was fined billions in Europe, and Apple was pushed to allow third-party app stores. Today, Nvidia isn't just a chip manufacturer, it's the gatekeeper to the world of artificial intelligence. And the question of who controls that gate is becoming central to the entire 21st century. The future in one pair of hands? If Nvidia maintains its monopoly, all AI progress will be tied to the decisions of a single company. Want to train a new neural net? Pay Nvidia. Building an innovative startup? You need their GPUs. Even government projects, from defense to healthcare, will depend on their supply. That means one corporation could dictate terms to entire countries and industries. This isn't sci-fi, it's already happening. In 2024-2025, many startups complained they couldn't buy Nvidia GPUs, even at huge prices. Most capacity goes to the big players, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google. Innovation becomes a closed club. Monopoly always smothers competition. If Nvidia is the sole supplier of fuel for AI, then small companies simply won't be able to enter. Large corporations will dictate what can and cannot be built. Progress will follow what's profitable for business, not society. It's reminiscent of oil in the 20th century, when a few corporations decided who would have the energy to develop and who wouldn't. AI isn't just startups and entertainment. It's medicine, transportation, the military, government agencies. If all of them depend on Nvidia, then a disruption in GPU supply could paralyze entire sectors. Sanctions or trade wars could turn technology into a lever of pressure. Humanity would be vulnerable to the interests of one company. But there's another scenario. If antitrust authorities or competitors can break Nvidia's monopoly, the world gets a healthier market. Alternative suppliers emerge. Hardware prices fall. More startups get a shot at building new products. There are downsides too, potentially slower progress. Like it or not, Nvidia invests more in AI than anyone. By splitting a monopoly, we risk losing momentum. Today, Nvidia isn't just a chip maker. It's the symbol of a new economy where hardware equals power. On one hand, thanks to Nvidia, we got ChatGPT, Midjourney, and the entire AI boom. On the other hand, too much power in one set of hands always leads to abuse. We believe Nvidia's fate is the fate of AI itself. If it becomes a monopoly, humanity will be dependent on the decisions of a single corporation. That's no longer about innovation, it's about control. So, Nvidia is a company that changed the world. But the question remains, will it be the engine of progress or a digital monopolist that strangles competition? What do you think? Is Nvidia a hero or a new threat to technology? Share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe. And don't forget our Patreon. We post even more exclusive, uncensored content there.